Hey guys, welcome to Heartcore. I'm Cel. That's Miko.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you guys for joining us, first and foremost. Today we are talking about the nourishment side of relationships. Last week's episode 65, we talked about the sex gates, which are on the other side of the human design body graph. And today we are talking about mostly the left side of the body graph, so the nourishment gates. And if you guys need a little bit more info leading into this, check out episode 64, where we talked about the roll gates. That'll give you kind of more of a high level on this. And if you want to go back to the sex episode, because why not, go back to episode 65. But yeah, before we get into that, what's been going on in your world, Miko?
Yeah, life updates. Last time I talked about a table, very exciting stuff. Today I'm waiting for a washing machine to arrive. So this is a completely unfurbished apartment and I need to get a few new elements, and washing machine is just one of the basics. I need a washing machine.
You're adulting at your finest right now. I feel like talking about tables and washing machines is like adulting to the max.
True. What about you? What's new with you? Hopefully something more exciting than that.
Slightly more exciting. I felt like a true Australian this past week. And for those of you guys like just tuning in for the first time, yes, I am American, if my accent didn't give it away. But I currently live in Australia, so trying to embrace the culture, I guess. My husband got us tickets to a rugby match, or footy, however you want to call that. There's NRL and ARL, and where we are, NRL is popular. I know it's a lot of letters. But basically, it's like American football, but not. You don't like throw the ball forward, like there's no quarterback. You just like toss the ball back to each other and run. So it's like how the Navy Army games are. If you guys are familiar with watching American football, it's like Navy Army games, like a lot of like running and foot play. However, these dudes wear no pads, like at all. It is insane. This one dude got his head beaten in and all they did was like tape him up and then he went back to playing. It was insanity.
Oh my God.
Long story long, we got like cheapy tickets because David's like, it's next to the beer. I was like, cool, it's next to the beer. Sure. But like, it's like standing room section. Like think of like it's like a grass, like elevated area and people can like sit on the grass, or you can just stand at the top, drink 4 beers to the face and then start yelling at everyone around you. And that's when the actual fun starts. Like the team of the city that we're in absolutely sucks. But second half is when people are probably like 7 to 8 beers in, and that's when they start getting really funny and just like screaming down in front to literally everyone. And then just like Australian culture, people just like egg each other on, and then like people down in front were like wiggling on down and then standing right up. Dude, it was a whole thing. It was more fun watching the people around us than the game though.
At least it don't turn rowdy. Sounds like
no,
they turn fun.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
Not fun,
Like,
but funny.
yeah, I would say I've been to American football games where things have gotten more intense.
All I can relate to is I went to a softball game and there was something that happened that I didn't agree with. So I started screaming and I was like, no, that's not right. And then I got kicked off the court. That's all I know about
Ball sports? All of
being
the
a
ball sports?
participant. Well, not an active participant, just watching.
Oh my God. You guys can see that Miko is quite the athlete.
I just didn't play softball.
Okay, that's fair.
It was on a military base, so I couldn't really participate.
Ah, yes. Organized sports on mill bases.
Cool. Now, let's move on to the
That was a
caring
good vamp.
part.
Yeah, take us into the actual topic at hand. Oh my God.
Caring in relationships, a very different story. I probably channeled my collective caring there in that moment when the referee was just going against what was right. But we're going to get to that. So caring has different elements to it. We have an individual kind of care, which cares about themselves. We have a tribal kind of care, which cares about the tribe or the closer members, like family members, friends, people like that. And then we have a collective kind of care. So depending on whether or not you have activations in any one of the channels, you're going to have a specific way of caring for others. But not just that, what also is important is that when you're looking at your profile lines, are the gates that are defined in that area of your chart. So we're only looking at the left side of the human design body graph. And if your profile resonates with the line or is in harmony with the line of one of those gates that is defined, that's when this theme becomes very important in your life. So harmony means that your profile line is the same as the gate that is defined in your chart as that line. And if you have a profile that is in resonance, it means that you have a line that resonates with that line in the gate. And what that means is that when you're dividing the 6 lines that exist within a profile or within a gate, you have a lower trigram and you have an upper trigram. So what that means is that the lines of the profile and lines of gates are divided into 2 parts. You have the lower trigram and the upper trigram. And lines 1, 2, 3 are part of the lower trigram, while lines 4, 5, 6 are part of the upper trigram. And line 1 resonates with line 4, line 2 resonates with line 5, and line 3 resonates with line 6. So this is the resonance. A harmony is when line 6 is in your profile and line 6 is also in the line of the gate that is defined. If you have no definition in these areas, so what we're going to be focusing on today is the left side of the body graph, as you can see here. So we're only focusing on the spleen. Last time, when we were talking about the sexual aspects, we were focusing on the emotional solar plexus. The emotional solar plexus is, for now, still a motor. It's starting to develop into an awareness center, while right now it is not. So it is not, it's just a motor, which is why sex doesn't actually have an awareness. So the gene sides or our sexual reproductive side is not an awareness theme for us who were born before 2027. Now we're looking at an awareness theme, at the caring theme, and that is connected to the spleen. So what we're first going to be looking at when we're talking about the 5 streams of caring, we're actually going to look at the source of caring. And the source of caring is gate 27, which leads towards gate 50. So as you can see, gate 27 is how you would care for someone. And there are different lines that are dividing these roles, or that are showing you the kind of role that you would take up. Even if it's not defined in your chart, you would look at your profile lines. That is how you would care for someone. The conscious profile line is going to show you how you consciously care for someone and care for someone from a personality perspective, while the unconscious profile line of yours would show you how you physically may be caring for someone and or unconsciously care for someone. So the 2750, 27 comes out of the sacral and has the drive, the generator power to push towards the 50th gate. And it is looking for something specific. So the 27, in order to care for someone, you need a sense of awareness, an awareness aspect, also known as a value. So the other person needs to have a specific value that you're looking for in order to be able to care for them. And that would be either a harmonious line that you connect with in the other, or a resonance that you would connect with in the other. If there is a disresonance or disharmony in these lines, you may face a few challenges. So that is something to keep in mind. We have shown, if you're watching, you can see the 6 awareness aspects and their roles in caring. On the left side, you will find the lines that are describing gate 50. So 50.1 is selfishness, the instinct for strength and weakness. Whereas on the other side, you have gate 27, unprepared for caring, the role of self-provider / covert. So what that means, and we're not going to go into detail in this, as Celestina mentioned at the beginning, check out our episode 64 to find out more about this. But in this case, line 1 in gate 50 is, are you showing strength or weakness? And you're going to fluctuate between these two over and over again. And the first line that matters most, whether it's defined or not, is your profile line. Especially A lot of times you're going to identify more with the conscious aspect, but the unconscious aspect still plays an important role in all of this. So even if you have gate 50 defined in your chart, let's assume you are 6-2 profile and you have the 50.5 defined. You are in resonance with the second line. If you have 50.4 defined, there is no resonance and no harmony. Either way, the more important part to consider in this would be your profile line. However, this gate, if it's not in harmony and not in resonance, it wouldn't play as big of a role in your overall caring theme as it would if you find a gate that is defined in your chart and that is in resonance or harmony with your profile line. Did you understand what I was saying here, Celestina, or is that too complicated?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was thinking about like even my resonance with my mom when you were saying that, right? Because she's a 2-4. So she and I understand our 2 lines together, but there are some things with her 4 line where I'm just like, it doesn't compute or it doesn't make sense to me because I don't have anything to resonate with that. So yes, it does make sense in that regard. And I think that it's helpful in remembering that when not just looking at these role gates, but when you're looking at all of the gates through the lens of your profile and through the lens of either a partner in a relationship or a friend in your life or family members, to see if there are areas where you can connect a bit more deeply with them, or where there's areas where there may be a bit of friction or just a lack of understanding. So yeah, totally makes sense.
Yay! Happy. Oh, I just got some hearts if you're not watching. As I said, we're not going to go through each line here, but you can take a screenshot and you can identify this by Googling it as well, or also by listening into our previous episode. The important thing to understand here is really that the 27 is looking for a specific value of the gate 50. If you have 27.1, it is about self-provider or coveter. So what that means is you're either going to fall into a role of being super independent, wanting to provide for yourself, or you want to be provided for. On the other side, you have strength and weakness. So if you find someone with 50.1 to complement your 27.1, that means that other person will always shift from strength to weakness and back again. They may have a tendency to be more fixed in on one side than the other, but usually it's a swing back and forth. And that will pull out the self-provider in you because you feel safe, because the other person is strong, for example. Or it can also be that the self-provider is called out in you when the other person is weak, because you feel like, okay, I need to provide for myself because the other person can't provide for me. It doesn't have to be that the self-provider only comes out when the other person shows strength. It can also come out when the other person shows weakness. This depends on the rest of your chart as well. This depends on your conditioning processes, which one of those shows up more. This depends on just who you are and all the things that you've experienced in your life. And I find that super interesting to look at it from that aspect, that there's always a caring theme that comes out of you. And the first line, it's not egoistic. This is also important to understand. It is you need to provide for yourself in order to be able to provide for others and to be strong for the other in some instances, or also to figure out, okay, when is my right time to be quote unquote weak and to be like, hey, okay, it's okay to not be strong all the time. So it's an interesting dynamic that comes up here. Now that we kind of covered the basics of where caring comes from, where caring is generated from, aka gate 27, we're going to step into the individual caring. So we're going to take a look at the self-caring of the integration channels. These are the channels 20, 57, 10, and 34.
A bit about this individual stream. It's all about uniqueness, mutation, empowered self-expression, And this stream within itself is about survival through personal empowerment and intuitive noting. So those with it are going to be deeply intuitive, present in the moment, and pretty self-focused. Self-focused, not self-absorbed, or like not egoistic. It's you're doing this for yourself. This is an individual channel. You got to be feeling it. So like I said, not in a selfish way. Think of this stream as embodying self-love as a mechanism for caring. So when it's healthy, it models the behavior that encourages others to live authentically in those relationships. And this stream also has a powerful sense of presence, awareness, and can be an inspiration within relationships as well.
So what I find super interesting with the individual stream is that Ra gave an example of when you're crossing the street. So you're walking with another person and you want to cross the street and there's a car coming and you're deciding, yeah, I can still do it. And the other person pulls you back. And as an individual stream person, you're going to look at that person and be like, I've been crossing the street for, okay, in my case, 37 years, okay? I can do this myself. Why are you holding me back? So the individual caring, they need to take care of themselves and they don't want your help until it is necessary. So try not to help an individual stream person until they really need your help. Sadly, in that example, the help would only be there or be necessary when the car would hit the person.
You get smushed. That's a stupid analogy.
And yeah, but that's just, well, he was then, to use a less dramatic example, he was saying, okay, there was a person who was balancing on a wall and then she fell off the wall. So he had those two examples. But for the dramatic part of the story, he then switched to the wall example. So let's just switch to the wall example. If someone is balancing on the wall and the individual stream person is, yeah, I can do this. I want to balance on this wall. And the other person is like pulling them off. That would not be good because the individual person would feel like they haven't done a good job until then. Like they were able to provide for themselves up to that point and they don't need anyone else. However, as soon as they fall off the wall, if they are really hurt, they will want your help. And that is when you need to step in, you need to look at them and be like, hey, do you want my help? It's not about protecting them from anything. It is really about letting them do their individual thing. And then when they need help, you need to keep an eye on them. You need to be like, hey, okay, you fell off. Do you want my help now? So yeah, that's the individual person. And I found that very funny because I do have this. I have the 57 inside of me and I do sometimes, and I have the 38 inside of me. So I do feel like I have had exactly these conversations that I have survived until now. So why would you stop me from crossing the road? It's funny.
I cannot relate. I cannot relate. I would be the one to be like, boo boo kitten, let me save you.
Yes. So this is where you can see the dynamics of the streams as well. And you will resonate with some of them more than the other. Also, before we keep going, actually, because that's going to be an important point further down the line before you go through the gates, the integration channel or the self-focused attention, self-care, self-growth, self-empowerment, all of this only becomes a real theme and a fixed theme in an individual if there is no gate 28 or 38, either in their chart or coming into their lives. This is very, very important because as soon as gate 28 or 38 enters a person's chart, this self-care is turning into care for others. And we're going to get to that later down the line, but first, please explain the gates to us.
Of course. Great insights too. I know I didn't really love that analogy because I don't want you to get hit by a car, but great insights.
Thank you. Thank you for not wanting me to get hit by a car. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, dude. I don't care if you've been crossing streets every day of your life. If you're going to get smooshed, I'm going to help. So we're going to start with the gate 34. This gate generates life. It's also known as the gate of power. In the context of caring, power is expressed by doing what is right for oneself. And it's not about tending to others, it really is just about caring for yourself so fiercely and so authentically that others may be moved or empowered by it. Ra notes that this gate cannot be conditioned. It does what it wants and it does it when it wants. As per Miko's example, I feel like that is pretty accurate. This gate is also the gate of asexuality. So it's a fertility that is here to keep the vehicle alive. And those with this gate cannot survive unless it is being themselves, being that self-empowered person and teaching others slash themselves how to be an empowered individual. Gate 57 is the gate of individual clarity. This is connecting the 34 into the spleen via the 57. It's also the gate of our right ear, or existential ear, if you will. And this is the ear that hears in the now and responds to frequencies in the now that the actual ear doesn't pick up on. Miko, do you have any insights to this? Because I remember in our last episode, or 2 episodes ago in 65, you said that if you want to hear very intently, you listen with your left ear. How does this play into it if in gate 57 you were listening with your right ear?
So the left ear is to pick up the information and really understand the person, to acoustically understand what they're saying. This ear is about understanding beyond what is said. It is about the tone of voice, what they're meaning, the frequency behind it. And I do get that a lot. I can sense, so I do have 57. And I feel when someone's saying something that is genuine and when they're saying something that is off. And it doesn't mean that it has to be a lie, but it's something that I can feel in what they're saying. And I'm like, wait, there's more. I know there's more. Just tell me what it is. So it can be really intense. It can be really challenging when you don't have an open communication style with the other person, because you hear it. It's, for me, because I also have other things in my design, I want to know what it is. I want to go to the depth of it and be like, okay, I need to uncover what that frequency is that doesn't resonate with the words that are being said.
You are really good at that. There are definitely times where you've been like, tell me more about that, or like dive deeper in a different way and kind of just suss it out even by like my tone. That's really cool. Okay, cool. So this gate in relationships, it senses danger or an alignment in the present moment. If the relationship isn't healthy, if there's got to be like some intuitive clarity behind it that the body will know, that the splenic center will know before the mind does. And if you recall, even in last week's conversation, right? Like the mind, the ajna and the head literally have nothing to do with these feelings, whether it's on the nurturing side or the sexual side. Like the mind is out of it. This is all inner body feeling and inner body knowing and trusting. So it's going to know well before your mind does. This gate 57, also contributes to caring by sensing what supports vitality and well-being. It's also very like deeply personal.
Yeah, that's a really good point to mention again, that here it is deeply personal as long as there is no gate 28 or gate 38. So because I have gate 38, my ear becomes very aware in the moment of the frequencies for other people. So I have a listening to other people. If you don't have the gate 28 or 38, it becomes a self-protective mechanism. So a frequency that you hear, that you pick up on because you know that there is some sort of survival need in the moment for yourself. So it's a bit of a different energy there.
So the 3757s that you guys have a bit more info on this, the whole channel is a generating channel, and it's not about quote unquote doing for others in the traditional sense, right? It's empowering the self to survive and thrive, which from external purposes or external sources may seem selfish, right? Like if you're trying to back someone up away from traffic and they're like, nah, don't stop me, boo. That may seem a little bit harsh, but really it's this self-empowerment. They can do it. They got themselves. It's this transformative modeling, if you will. And when it's activated in a partner or someone that you're in a relationship with or yourself, this energy brings this instinctual protective power. And it doesn't have to explain or justify its actions. It just acts from this inner knowing. It's the energy of a person who protects others by simply doing what is correct for them. If you're near them, you'll benefit from their strength, which is a really dope thing to experience. We're going to continue rowing our boat up the stream to gate 10. This is the gate of behavior of self-love, located in the G center. Self-love shines through in the mud and through the sunshine, and it radiates no matter what the external circumstances are. And in this circuitry, it's all about self-care, self-preservation, self-love, and continuing to focus on oneself. However, this channel can be projected upon, and those around them may be asking, why do you not care more for me, right? They can see that person as being selfish in their actions. And this gate is the genetic role of survival through that correct behavior, living that one's truth. And that really is the answer to it, right? Like they are living out their truth. That's why they may seem like they care a little bit more about themselves than you. And it's not a bad thing, it's just, it is. Per Ra, Gate 10 is the seat of self-love and self-respect, and without it, true intimacy is impossible. This is the gate that shows us how someone can love themselves as a whole. And it's really beautiful to be able to see that come into play. Gate 20, on the other end of this, is the gate of the now. This is in the throat center. It is pure presence. It is being as in tune with the current moment as possible. It's about the spontaneous expression of truth based on what is happening right now. And that can be in the physical body, that can be in the environment. It's speaking what someone sees and manifesting its presence without concern for the past, the future, just the now, in the moment. And with that connection to Gate 10, it becomes a really powerful vocalization of one's authentic self. The 1020 in relationships is a projected channel and, again, embodies this self-love, authenticity, this natural behavior. And it's not this romantic kind of love. It is truly the foundation of a healthy relationship, the love of self. People always say, like, when you're looking for your partner out there, to work on yourself, and then that will attract someone to you out there. So this is the essence of that. Putting yourself first before trying to find someone else to fill all of those gaps that you may be looking for. This channel is also the voice of the awakened behavior. A person with this channel doesn't necessarily seek to please others, but rather seeks to live correctly in their own integrity. And their caring comes from modeling this behavior. This is what it looks like to love yourself and express that love out loud. It can feel magnetic, and people may be drawn to these people because they radiate their self-truth. They radiate themselves wholly.
What I liked when Ra was talking about this was that the 2010 channel is the original mystical channel. So it is I am now. And you've heard so many gurus, if you're into gurus or anything spiritual in that sense, you've heard that. I am now. And ironically, the I am now is not connected to an awareness because it's not connected to an awareness center. It is connected to the G center. So really understanding you are now means that you need to be fully connected to yourself, to your inner self. And then you can be the I am now, but paradoxically, awareness doesn't play a role in all of this. That also blew my mind. I mean, some things you just read them and you think about them and they really strike a core. And this was one of them where I was like, yeah, it makes sense, even though it is hard for the mind to make sense of. I just thought it was an interesting share for all the spiritual woo-woo people out there.
That is an interesting share for the spiritual woo-woo people out there. So this stream as a whole, looking at the 3757 as well as the 1020, it is not nurturing in the traditional sense, as in doesn't take care of people, but shows others how to take care of themselves through presence, power, and that self-honoring behavior. It also mutates the emotional field through this modeling by awakening others to be radically oneself. It can also feel really attractive to others that are around someone with this stream, but it also can be distant or challenging to access this person emotionally. It requires a partner who respects autonomy and authenticity, and if these people bend who they are to try and maintain a relationship, for example, if someone with the 1020 is trying to be someone else in a relationship because they think it's what their partner wants, they're going to lose their self-identity. They're going to lose themselves and collapse, whether that be literally within the relationship or metaphorically, and just lose themselves within that relationship as well. When it is honored in a relationship, these people can be some of the most loyal, consistently present partners because they've chosen you as themselves to be part of that beautiful experience with. So that is this stream. Some questions if you have these gates, or if you have these channels, or if you have this whole stream. Damn, I'd love to know how that feels. How do I model self-love in my relationships can be a good one to look at, as well as how might I be more present in how I love and how I care. And again, that could be for you, that could be for others. Yeah, give those a noodle.
So yeah, if you have the full stream, that would mean that the 34 gives you the momentum of doing. The 3420 is known as the do channel, the one that can't stop doing. It always needs to stay busy. And if you don't have gate 57, that can mean that you have a challenge intuitively understanding what it is you should be busy about. And so if you do have 34, 20, and 57, you intuitively know what to be busy about in the now. And if you additionally to that have gate 10, then you know what it is you should be doing intuitively in the now to take care of yourself, to provide for yourself, to fill your own cup. So this would be the full stream. And it's a beautiful energy to have. Also to have it as an electromagnetic, for example, where you may have been busy doing all the time, but then because you didn't have the gate 57 or gate 10 and someone steps in with both these gates, you suddenly also know intuitively what to be busy about and how to take better care of yourself, how to fill your cup. We kind of mentioned this already, but with the next stream, we're going to take a look at what happens when gate 38 and or 28 step into the picture. So we're still in the theme of individual caring, but it shifts. It takes another personality. It becomes more romantic in nature. And for romance, you do need someone or something to be romantic about. So when gate 38 steps into the picture, it means that suddenly you take away the self of all of these aspects. So it becomes a care for the other. It doesn't mean that you stop caring for yourself, but the other becomes more important as well. When looking at gate 38 and you're looking at the mirror gate, so that is interesting in human design to also always look at the mirror gate. So when you divide the human design body graph in half, you often find a mirror gate, not always. So for example, you wouldn't find a 34 mirror gate. And Ra says that if you would have a 34 mirror gate, it would lead up to the ego, and that would mean the human would live forever. It wouldn't run out. It would just keep going. But a lot of times you will find mirror gates. And in this case, the 38's mirror gate is 39. Do check out our episode, the sex episode that we just covered, because we talk about gate 39 here. So just as a quick note on 39, this was someone that is a sexual tease. And in the case of 38, they still tease, but it's not about the teasing sexually. It's about the teasing for caring. So they want to check and test the boundaries as to how much the 28 would care about them. So they keep teasing and they keep testing the boundaries. How much of an individual can I be? How much of me can I be? Until the other person says, hey, stop. Like, that's the limit. That's the amount of you can be. So of course, the 38 wants to find someone that will accept the me or the you or the true self of oneself as much as possible. You're going to really want someone that accepts you for who you are, loves you for who you are. And yeah, you're going to keep testing the boundaries in that case. Be like, okay, how much further can I go? So this was kind of also going back to crossing the street or balancing on the wall, whichever analogy you prefer. But it's really testing the boundaries of, okay, this is as much as the other person will accept, and this is where the other person won't accept me for me anymore. However, when the 38 is stopped in expressing their individuality, this is where they may feel a loss of self-worth. So for a 38, it's really important to try to support them as an individual as much as possible. I would even go as far as saying, okay, this is important for everyone, whether you have the 38 or not, but recognizing your true self and being recognized for this true self and being loved for your true self. I mean, who wouldn't want that? But the 38 will just really push the buttons to see how much the other person really cares. So when we're coming to gate 28, and you're looking at the mirror gate of gate 28, you look at gate 55. So gate 28 and gate 38 as a channel, you have gate 38 saying, hey, let me test the boundaries. Let me see how much of my individuality you will accept. And on the other side is gate 28, and they need to figure out whether they should or shouldn't be caring for that person. 38 wants to be cared for in its entirety. And gate 28 needs to figure out, okay, should I care or should I not care? How much of that other person can I care about? On the other side, the mirror gate, you have gate 55. And they are also pretty indecisive in some ways. So gate 55 can be fickle, and they may feel, when you look at the other side of the channel, so 39, 55 being the full mirror channel of this 38, 28, you have a sexual bond and you have the provocation of testing the boundaries sexually. It is a sexual teasing of maybe showing a little bit of the shoulder, maybe sending a sexy picture as mentioned in the previous episode. And gate 55 needs that teasing. So the more that you're teasing that gate 55 sexually, the more it will become certain that this is what it is they want. So it should have this built up. You need this build up before the 55 is going to be like, yeah, I actually do love you, because otherwise it can switch back and forth. Do I love you? Do I not love you? Do I love you? Do I not love you? So this teasing is actually an important part of this whole process. And additionally to that, gate 39 and gate 55, when they come together, it can lead to a very mystical experience where you can bring the whole relationship to another level, because the gate 39 provokes and pokes, and also through this provoking and poking, if it's the right 55 that is in front of you, they will go into resonance and they will feel this provocation as something positive instead of taking it personal and being like, okay, no, you know what? You're being too personal here. So now, kind of looking back at the 5720 again, when you're looking at the 57 as mentioned previously, when the 38 or the 28 comes into play, it goes from the 57 revolving around self-concern, it goes to concern about the other. So you start to listen with more intent. You start to really hone in on what it is the other person is saying, and you're becoming intuitive to what the other is saying. And you really do have to be in the present moment. You have to choose to listen or not to listen, because there's always these polar opposites or polarities within every gate and every line, and not every line, but many of the lines. So you have this back and forth, and you need to figure out whether it is something that you want to be concerned about with that person or not. This happens either if you have that in your own chart, or if another person steps into your life that has the 28 or the 38, then your dynamic may change from self-concern to concern for the other person, which can, again, as we mentioned, become a bit of a challenge if the individual that is receiving your concern is not able to receive it. They, as Celestina mentioned, she may want to save me, and I may want to be like, hey, I got this. So this is why human design becomes so beautiful and important, or helpful, not really important, but it becomes super helpful, because you can understand what just happened. When there's a situation like this, instead of getting upset at the other person, you can be like, hey, I'm sorry, this was just my intuitive, instinctual reaction. Don't take it personal. And if the other person is open-minded enough to be like, hey, yeah, I get it, I totally get it, then that's beautiful.
This joke will land better after we talk about tribal, but bruh, you're in my tribe. Of course I'm going to save you.
Yes. Surrounded by tribes, by tribal people. So the 20th gate also changes when the 28 or the 38 comes in. So now it is about caring in the now for the other person. And again, to the wall, to the windows, to the wall. Yeah, we had that at the beginning. So back to the wall. Caring for the other person in the now means that you also have to be observant of the other person in the now all the time. So you can only step in once it is really time for you to care for them. As the example shown with the wall, don't try to save them before they fall, but really observe them and see if they need your help. And when they do fall, you of course have to know the person very well for that. But when they do fall, that's the moment when they ask for help, preferably. But even if they don't ask for help, that's the moment that you can step in and be like, hey, do you want my help? There are many different examples for this, but just try to take this analogy and place it onto a situation where you have an individual in front of you that you feel need your help, but find the right moment to ask them. And the 20th gate, as I said, it's really about observing them, being present for them, and then caring for them in the right moment. So yeah, it's not a passive thing. It's still an active observing, active being there, recognizing when the time is to help.
So going up the stream, the 38, 28, 57, 20, as a whole in relationships, caring here is not transactional or emotional. It's existential, it's intuitive, and sometimes it's silent because there's not much happening in the now. And the stream cares by saying, I care enough to fight for truth. I care enough to name what's real. I care enough to be present even when it's hard. And people with this stream don't always look caring, but they are deeply protective of what has meaning for them. Love can show up in staying when things get tough, speaking truth even when it hurts, and standing beside a partner when they face some inner fears. In addition, the energy can challenge these. This type of energy can challenge relationships to go deeper, be more real, and drop some of those outside illusions. Some prompts that you can consider for this are, what is worth struggling for in your relationship life? And where do you care enough to speak the truth? Alrighty guys, on to the collective stream, also known as the Kundalini stream. Ra described this as kind of an awakening force. So it starts in the root, much like that Kundalini energy that we know from yogic traditions, and rises up through refinement, instinct, and expression. And it is collective, and thus transforms individuals through structure, repetition, and refinement. This type of caring is non-emotional, impersonal, and deeply principled. So it doesn't sound as sexy as some of the other ways of caring at all, but it cares by seeking betterment in systems, in health, in behavior, and yes, in relationships as well. It's not tribal, it's not intimate, but it does serve the greater good by refining that collective experience for the peoples as a whole.
The funny thing is that Ra was calling this a very annoying channel because they just care about everything. They just care about everything. About nature, about glaciers, about whatever. They just care about everything.
This reminds me of like the little kid who would like stop to pick up a flower on a soccer field.
Okay, that may be the unconditional love one. That may be
so
25.
Okay.
Loving a flower as much as you love your partner.
So starting with gate 58, the gate of vitality, or vitality if you just want to say things like that. Because this isn't the root, it carries the pressure to improve one's quality of life or the quality of life. And it's going to be really joyful when it finds something worth refining. In Ra's words, This is the pressure to correct patterns and doing so through a love of achieving excellence, to be better, to not criticize, but to elevate in relationships. And this gate also seeks to uplift. And when it doesn't feel that it has an outlet, it can become relentless or even frustrated. I mean, think of that anything root related, right? Like if there's no outlet for it, it's just this immense pressure without being able to release. So, totally makes sense. And on the other side of this channel is gate 18, the gate of correctness. And with those with gate 18 want to hold up the capacity to refine judgment. And this is more about having an eye for detail and seeing the flow that the 58 wants to correct. And in relationship, this is tough love. This is like the do better, be better, nitpicky kind of stuff, but more of a caring way in saying, that's not right, you deserve better, and we can grow through this. However, if it's uninvited, this feedback can feel critical or cold. Ra emphasized the importance for this gate of recognition and timing. So knowing when to say something and then being recognized for that as well.
So with this channel, what I find super important to mention is that it is collective. We are talking about collective channel, a collective stream, a collective channel here. And this is not to be taken personal. So this can become a big challenge, as you said, with being nitpicky, with being critical, with being judgmental with your partner. It's called the channel of judgment. And here, what is important to note, yes, you need to be invited. However, you also need to recognize that this is not personal. This is just how they are. They're just trying to improve something for the collective, and they're trying to figure out what is the right solution for the collective. So the 58 is the person that points out, okay, this is the problem. And the 18 is trying to figure out through experimenting which solution may work. If you come together as an electromagnetic 1858, or if you have the full channel, this is the dynamic. One person figures out, or you figure out, okay, this is a challenge. How can we find a solution for the collective to make this better? And if you're turning it against one another in an electromagnetic relationship where you're just being nitpicky about small little problems that are not relevant for the collective, this is where it becomes a problem. It can also be something that is actually important for the relationship to improve, yes, but you shouldn't get stuck on small little things like, why did you put the jam in the shelf on the fridge and not in the door, or something like this. This would be nitpicky, this would be arguing for the sake of arguing, but it's not actually bringing a real solution. Whereas if you're having a challenging conversation and you don't like the way that the other person is communicating to you, trying to figure out better ways to communicate with one another can actually elevate the whole relationship to a next level. So this would be an example that can help you, it can help the collective. And the best thing to do with this channel is to focus on collective themes. What is going to help the collective to elevate, to go to the next level? So that is something that I find really important when it comes to this whole stream, that this is more of a collective energy, and try to not turn against one another when it comes to these things. And don't be nitpicky about small little things that are not going to serve your greater good or the greater good of the people around you.
Alrighty guys, moving up the stream, gate 48. Coming out of the spleen is the gate of depth. And this is the depth of instinctual knowledge, the fear of inadequacy. Do I know enough? And when it comes to caring in relationship, this gate is careful, it's methodical, and wants to get it right. It doesn't throw itself into action without trusting its process. And in a relationship, this could be that someone is withholding action or feedback until it feels deeply ready to take that next step to do something. But once it does commit, it brings depth, it brings wisdom, it brings intuition, and those are all really positives. It just may take a bit to get there. Gate 48 may also feel frustrated when they have a solution, but they're not able to manifest, but they may not be able to manifest that solution without having the gate 16 on the other end. And it can be frustrating when identifying with all these different kinds of skills when they stop identifying and kind of just wait in their depth, again, with just the 48, they will be a lot healthier. But when you get that 16 all up in it, game changer, manifest that shit. So on the other side of the channel is gate 16, the gate of skills in the throat. And this is the gate of enthusiasm, of practice and repetition. And it's bringing gate 48's depth of teaching, performing, or demonstrating into the mastery, like into the world. This gate loves being able to refine all of that. In relationship, it can show up through engagement, as in like engaging with others, not putting a ring on it, or I guess it could be both. Sharing and helping others' skills grow and helping others understanding. So actually, I have a friend who's a splenic manifester, and this is his channel. It's really interesting to see now that I'm exploring more, like now that we're exploring more of this, it's really cool to see that come into play in him, knowing the projects that he's worked on in the past.
Yeah, and I also like to look at the full stream because it kind of makes sense. This whole thing puts understanding as to how the gates are flowing, as to how the whole process of humanity works in a lot of ways. So when you're then even going into the lines of each gate and you're really starting to understand how things are interconnected. In this case, yes, it is about a collective caring. So we start with what is the problem, then we come to, okay, let's experiment what works and see, okay, this works for this group, and expand the group and see, okay, this works for the collective. And then comes gate 48 and is like, okay, I like that idea. We should sit with it. We should refine it. And then comes gate 16. So then we go as a gate 48, we go to gate 16 and say, hey, I have this amazing idea. This is a solution to fix, for example, the very old example that Ra always uses is toothpaste. If you have a squeezer of toothpaste that squeezes it in the middle and you're one that likes to have it squeezed at the bottom. What? Who
David
does
is
that?
Rogue. David is rogue. That's why we have 2 separate toothpaste bottles.
See, that is the solution. There we
It
go. Put into action. The full stream put into action. There is a problem with how you squeeze your toothpaste. I want it squeezed differently, so we're going to separate the toothpaste. Another solution would be to have this weird device, which it's not really a good solution, but you could go up to a gate 16 and be like, hey, this is a device that can help you with the toothpaste problem. And if the gate 16 actually sees value in it, then they're going to invest. Then they're going to manifest it. And then this whole thing comes to life. So this is the full stream of how it starts with an idea of this is a problem, we need to solve it, going all the way up to the manifestation.
I need a gate 16 to get a business off the ground. Aha. Aha. That's what I'm understanding.
We are about to go to your channel, okay? We have a lot to talk about your channel here. Don't worry, we're getting there.
So some prompts for your reflection that can be helpful are, do I offer corrections in love, from care, or from control? And potentially, where do I fear I'm not ready in love? How can I grow there? And again, it's all about growth. It's all about learning, experimenting, depending on what you got in the stream or what your partner's got in the stream.
So the tribal themes of caring, this is the other side of, remember the sex episode where we were talking about the marriage bonds? This is the non-sexual marriage bond, the more industrial marriage bond. That's a good way to put it. And it's also more individual in nature. It's a bit less tribal. Yes, it is tribal, but it is a bit less tribal than the other side. So when I'm talking about the other side, I'm talking about the mirror gates, and that would be the 1949 and the 3740. That's the marriage bond that we were talking about. Check out the episode once again if you want to know more about it. Today we're first talking about gate 54 and 32, moving up the stream to 4426. So 54 is known as the marrying maiden. So if you're looking at the mirror gate, gate 19, And you remember our previous episode, we were talking about the flirtatious aspect of gate 19, and they were flirting to get the right resources. Here in gate 54, the marrying maiden, it's about flirting in a different way, and that is more about finding allies in order to climb up the ranks. So the marrying maiden is at the bottom of the stream, 54, and it's kind of continuously looking up to gate 45, which is what we're going to be talking about for you later. So first, gate 54, marrying maiden. It is often connected to the workforce in a company. It is an employee that comes into work and just goes about their day, enjoying their life, hopefully, at the company. If the 21 is doing a good job at providing a good atmosphere to the 54, then the 54 is pretty happy already. But in order to become more happy and to save their spot in the company, they try to make allies and they try to make themselves feel seen so that the people that are higher up in the chain, they know that they are still valuable. They need to be recognized in order to feel valuable. And this is kind of how they do it. So they start to talk to the higher ups and make themselves feel seen. On the other side of this channel, so gate 32, is the fear of failure. That is the fear of really not being sure if they have enough to survive. And this becomes a bit of a challenge. You are looking at the gate 32 and you're like, hey, how am I going to be able to survive in this place? Are they going to pay for my salary? Do they see my worth? And this is kind of why you're going through the whole process, to be able to prove, yes, I am worth it. I'm here to stay. I'm good at what I do. But in order to do that, you have to be seen in the first place. So to bring more clarity into all of this, we have gate 55, which can be looked at as the employee, and then we have gate 32, which is the resource manager. And this is not to be confused with the personal manager. This is going to be the 44, but the resource manager is the one that is the higher up and that is going to decipher, okay, this person should stay, this person should go. Not even that, because that is also the personal manager, but it's more about 32 going towards the personal manager and pointing out, hey, they are worth it. That's what the 32 is here to do. When the 44 comes into play, this is someone that is here to sell the product. The best product won't sell if the 44 isn't there. The 44 recognizes what kind of energy, what kind of will energy is needed to get the product out there. And the 26 actually goes out and sells it. That is the salesman. So you need the 44 to know, okay, this is the best person to go and sell this product. And this is the person that has the best kind of will, energy, the power to sell this product. So this is kind of the hierarchy chain. The interesting thing about the 26 and the 54, so where the 54 is really integrated into the family, the company family system, it feels like part of the family. The 26 doesn't feel like that. The 26 feels like an outsider, and it is an outsider because it is the person that goes out to sell the product. It is not the person that comes together with every other 54, sitting down at the cafeteria, talking about their day-to-day, enjoying the company's food that is being provided, the company's clothes that is being provided. And that is actually a very important part. As a 21, which we're getting to, you really need to figure out what your employees want and need to be happy. And food, clothing, and the environment, so where the company is, how the company is located, the building itself, how does it feel, all of that plays a crucial role. Additionally to, of course, the company atmosphere, so the connection with everyone in the company, with every individual in the company. But I also found it really fascinating to take these things into account where food does play a huge role. We talked about this when we talked about the sexual stream, how food and sex is connected. But food is just such a big connective element. And when people are enjoying their food, yes, they may take longer breaks. But there have been studies that are showing that when the social aspect is healthy in a company, it helps people to work better as well. So it's not just about having them work, and them taking the shortest break possible, because that is not going to lead to the most productive employees. This is kind of the stream of starting with the 54 as the marrying maiden, the employee, going up to the 32 who's higher up than them, that is then going to be able, whether they are worth the salary or not, basically, to make it sound very harsh. Then going to the 44 who understands, okay, this is a product we need to invest in, and this is the person that is going to be able to promote this product. And then we're going to come to Celestina's stream in a second. But before that, let's see what Celestina has to add to this stream.
What you said about the 26 feeling like an outsider, dude, I can so relate to that. I've never thought of it like that because I have the 54, both conscious and unconscious, and the 26 in my conscious earth, I believe. Yeah, so it's like when you said that, it clicked. It felt like it clicked. However, I don't feel that way when I'm with a 44. Like I feel more connected when I'm with a 44. So hi, buddy.
Hello.
Yeah, it's interesting though. It makes it, and I mean, I have a direct connection to my throat, but it definitely makes it easier to sell something, to promote something when the other half is there, rather than feeling like I have to force it, if that makes sense. It feels schmutzy salesman-y without the other half.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's going to be also very interesting with your stream, taking your stream into consideration. Do you have anything else to add to this stream?
The 54, I think, is interesting. So I did, again, just reflecting on my chart, because I only know my experience in life and like what I can relate to. But I have the 54 in my conscious and unconscious Saturn and Neptune, which I think is really interesting. Yeah. So does David, because we were born around the same time. We're only like 30 days apart. So we have, I think, just our lines are a little bit different, but we have the same thing. So it's interesting to see the ambition piece of it play out in a veiled way. It's just such an interesting spot for that to be. So I don't have the whole stream. I only have the 54 and the 26, and then we'll talk about the 45, 21 in a second. But like, it's a very interesting, like, again, understanding this from a nurturing perspective, and now understanding how each gate plays such a significant role in conception to bringing something to life. And I don't mean like the sex conception. I mean like a product, an idea, a something from conception to life. It's really interesting seeing how the parts that you have contribute to that, and how necessary the other aspects of it can be to truly bring something into fruition.
Yeah, and looking at your chart, you have the resonance in the 54, but only in the Uranus aspect. So you don't have it in your Neptune. So you're resonating still more with the Uranus as a 54-2 and a 54-3. They're both in resonance. Your conscious is 54-2 and the unconscious is 54-3.
Yeah.
So you can understand the employee, basically. You can resonate with them. Then going up the stream, being the salesperson, you are the 26-6 because it's in your conscious earth. And then going further up the stream, you have the 45-6 in resonance. And you have the 21-2 in resonance in your Mercury. So even though you don't have the full stream, you understand it very well, and you resonate with this type of caring a lot because they are in resonance with your lines, with your profile lines.
That's pretty cool.
So even if you would have, so the Neptune is veiling it, but you're not as much going into the resonance with the Neptune line 4, 54.4.
Yeah. in both conscious and unconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can still understand it. And that's also your type of caring. I mean, it's so fascinating. I need to provide the resources. I need to know that everyone is doing well, and I can understand when everyone is doing well because I also have this aspect in my chart, and so from the employee perspective, and you do want to sell the product when it feels right, when it resonates with you. And then on the other hand, you have the conflict in your main channel, the 4521, which I'm just going to start talking about right now because in Ra's perspective, it is actually a channel that is best when it comes together electromagnetically and not when it's inside of one person. Because inside of one person, it's a bit of a conflict that is happening there.
It's aggressive, let me tell you. Whatever's happening in here is aggressive. Would not recommend.
You were going to say?
It's interesting that you're saying that it shows up like that externally, in the sense of like, I understand what people need and then provide the resources for the people. Like, dude, that is all I know how to do as a manager. Like, that is how I showed up as a manager for other people. And it's cool when you've hired your tribe and your tribe gets it, because then everyone's on the same page and then they support each other without even you having to step in. And it's really friggin' cool to see. But it's also crazy how quickly that can go away without the glue, if you will. It's really interesting to see.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're getting to the main juice of all of this for you, because you loved your team, the one that you just built.
Yeah.
And you've built it very successfully. Brought in the right people for the right positions, and it was harmonious. They were supportive of one another. You were kind of you were able to trust them. You were saying, okay, everyone has their position, everyone has the resources, and now do your thing. And this is super important for the 45. So when we're looking at the 45, we're looking at the owner of the company, basically. And the 21 is the personnel manager. So, no, the 21 is the president of the company. And there's a big difference here. So the 45 has the resources, and it then gives to the 21 whichever resources are necessary. So as an example, if the 21 is then going to say in a company, hey, we need a daycare for the kids, for the people. And the 45 is going to evaluate, do we have the resources to provide that to the people? Is it really that necessary? Are we going to have immediate growth of the company when we're doing that? And if it doesn't see all of these things, it's probably going to decide against it. And it's going to say, hey, let's do this a few years down the line. So the 21 is really here to be like, okay, what do these people need to be happy? Which clothes, which food, which facilities, which environment, what is going to provide them with the best kind of work environment? And the 45, however, has the final say. So your internal conflict is 100% what Ra always says when he sees someone with a 21, do not work for anyone. And when I'm looking back at your job, this was the problem. The head, people being above you, were the problem.
They sucked!
Because you can't work for anyone. You need to be your own boss. And the conflict inside of you is to understand when to relinquish control, when to say, okay, I've covered all the bases, like this is the head of this department, this is the head of this department, and I'm just going to be here trying to navigate the resources, but I don't need to get involved into the day-to-day business. On the other hand, you do have the 21 who's like, no, but I want to be involved. I need to know what is going on and who needs what and where and why. And then I have to convince my 45 and be like, hey, but we need that. And so yeah, that's the kind of inner conflict that is happening. One wants to be the absolute boss, and the other one wants to be the president of everything.
You know what's interesting though? I think the boss wins out 90% of the time because I don't like peopling. So if I didn't have to day I wouldn't. Also, my 21 is a 2 line, so
And not just that, but it's actually consciously defined. Your 45
yeah,
is consciously defined by your
that too.
sun. So that's
Yeah.
70%. Well, okay, 70% divided by the design and personality sun. But that is super, like that trumps the 21. And also you have it in your conscious Venus, which gives it this feminine flair to it as well. The values are important in this aspect, whereas the 21 is, yes, it's in your unconscious, and it's in your unconscious second line profile as well, and it's in your Mercury. So it's more likely that this is something that just comes out of you spontaneously when you're speaking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to see how it comes together though. And dude, like when you were like the key for you is to like have your own business, man, heart pull. I would love to have a restaurant, like actually, like of my own and like be able to build a team. Investors out there, let me know. You got money? Would love it.
And she would be good at it.
I
Investors
would
out
be
there.
so fucking good at it.
Yeah. But even as a consultant, as we talked about, regarding being
Yeah.
a consultant for other companies and telling them how to build their teams and how to have someone in charge of the resources, like you are still in charge of your own business because you're just a consultant, quote unquote,
Yeah.
just. I mean, you are a consultant, you're not involved in the company, you don't have someone as a boss, and you can just drop out and be like, okay, you know what? I'm out anytime they piss you off.
Dude, I've restaurant consulted before, but you have to physically be in a location to do that, and I can't consult in Australia, like per my visa. So I have to be in, I guess, America for that. So that's cool.
Hawaii.
Yeah. Hawaii. Yeah. Yeah, this is the whole stream I think is very interesting how it all plays, like comes into play. I saw a chart of, I think she's like 10 years old, but it was a woman that I met here who's a 2/4 sacral generator, and her daughter is a really, really intense manifester. I think she's a 6/3, don't quote me on that, but I think she's a 6/3 ego manifester, and she has this whole stream. Like, what a dope kid.
Whoa.
Yeah. She has the whole stream. Her
Wow,
mom said
that's
she's really
interesting.
intense, and I get that.
Yeah.
How
The
cool is
root, the
that, though?
spleen, the ego, the throat.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Wow. She's pure tribal, even though it's a bit more individual than the other side, sexual tribal, but still it's wow. Wow.
Yeah. It's really cool.
I don't know what else she has, but yeah.
I don't remember
That's
either. I just remember seeing the whole stream, and I was like, bro.
that is. Wow. That kind of concludes the gates of caring. Do you have anything else you would like to add?
I guess super random, but on this same topic, I guess showing love through caring with having 45/21, I didn't realize how much I value acts of service and like doing things like as a way of like caring for someone or loving or showing my love to someone else. But it really is like, I know it sounds so mundane, but like cleaning or like doing laundry, whether it's me doing it, it's showing love to whomever I'm living with, in this case my husband and my dog. But also when that's done for me reciprocally, damn, it's really cool to experience. So I think with all of this is like, don't discredit like the nurturing side of things, right? There still can be love shown in relationships through nourishing acts or through caring in different ways. But yeah, this can help you. I think this can also help you just understand your love language in not just a sexual penetratey kind of way, but in like, how do we nourish and build this relationship and maybe take it to the next level?
Absolutely. And also taking into consideration how this comes together. Is it in my chart? Is it in my partner's chart? Is it an electromagnetic connection? Is there maybe a conflict or a compromise that is in there that we need to figure out and work through? Is there resonance? Is there harmony? Is there no resonance, no harmony?
Yeah.
All of that plays a role. That's where things get a bit more complicated. But if you're just taking what we shared here and you already just look at your chart and try to identify a few elements that you resonate with, then yeah, like Celestina said, acts of service for her, or also what you did when we were hosting the retreat. You always had food available at any point in time, and I was so happy about it. I was the happiest person ever.
Yeah.
I'm hungry, and then grabs her bag, pulls something out, gives me a carrot and hummus, and I'm like, oh, cool. Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
That's fair. Some quick prompts for those of you with this tribal stream. Consider asking yourself, do I equate love with duty or providing? And second noodle is, what are the unspoken agreements in my relationships? So think about that, and that may help you gain some clarity. Any of these prompts may help you gain some clarity.
Beautiful ending. Thank you everyone for listening. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comment section. Let us know feedback if you would like something to change, if you would like us to cover a certain topic. That would also be very helpful.
Next week's episode, we are diving back into the ego authority specifically, because, heart, core, all up and out here. I'm excited about that episode too. So hopefully you guys tune in next week, give a listen. It's slightly less intense than the last couple of episodes have been. I know we've gotten real deep in the HD world, so that's a little bit more of a palate cleanser, I guess you could say.
Okay, everyone. Have a great rest of your week and see you in the next episode.
Ciao, guys.
Bye.
Hardcore, the Human Design Podcast.
Bloopers.
You know that song from like the 70s? Can I get a witness? That's what I just had to do.
Just show up for 2 seconds. Yeah, I witnessed. I have no idea what I witnessed, but I was there. I witnessed. Have you seen the contract? Have you read the contract? Do you know what it's about?
I don't. They just needed a second signature for the house that they're buying. All right, guys, moving along down the stream.
Up the stream.
Up the stream. To fill all those gaps? I was going to say holes, but that's inappropriate.
You're still on the sex theme. Get it? So to bring more clarity, so
Miko, you want to take this? You want to talk about me? You want to talk about me?
I'll talk about you when we get there, but we're first starting with the 5432.
LOL. Okay, cool.
I'm a talk about you. You just
right.
wait.
The 14,